The U.S. has killed the leader of Al-Qaeda, Ayman al-Zawahiri, in a drone strike in Afghanistan. President Joe Biden has confirmed that incident. He was killed in a counter-terrorism operation carried out by the CIA in the Afghan capital, Kabul, on Sunday. He and Osama bin Laden piloted the 1911 attacks together, and he was one of America's most wanted terrorists. This is where we begin the full briefings of tonight's Undaunted. Tonight on Undaunted, we will be having Dr. Kizito Elad, the Secretary of State for Foreign Affairs. I am Onyi Opbala, and Mr. Smart is here. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Onyi. Mr. Biden said al-Zawahiri had carved a trail of murder and violence against American citizens. From hiding, he coordinated Al-Qaeda's branch in all around the world, including setting priorities for providing operational guidance and calling for and inspiring attacks against U.S. targets. The president said this in a live television address from the White House. Now justice has been delivered and this terrorist leader is no more, he added. The FBI updated its most wanted terrorist poster on Monday with Zawahiri's status deceased. The 71-year-old Egyptian doctor took over Al-Qaeda's after the death of bin Laden in 2011. Mr. Biden said he had given the final approval for this precision strike after months of planning. Officials said Zawahiri was on the balcony of a safe house when the drone fired 2 missiles at him. Other family members were present, but they were unharmed and only Zawahiri was killed in the attack, they added.
Mr. Biden said Zawahiri's killing will bring closure to families of the nearly 3,000 victims of the 2001 attacks in which hijackers crashed passengers' jets into landmark buildings in New York and Washington, including 2 skyscrapers in Manhattan. Some 344 firefighters were also killed. Andrew Asbro, president of the New York Firefighters Association, thanked Mr. Biden for helping to bring another level of closure to all impacted by those and these attacks. Mr. Biden said that Zawahiri had also masterminded other acts of violence, including the suicide bombings of the USS Cole naval destroyer in Aden in October 2000, which killed 17 U.S. sailors, and the 1998 attacks on the U.S. embassies in Kenya and Tanzania, in which 223 people died. Douglas said Diallo lost his sight in the Kenyan attack and told BBC Newsday that while he never condones violence, news of Zawahiri's death is welcomed. It is good that it has happened, that they are bringing down those who were behind these heinous and barbaric acts of cowardice around the world, Mr. Sadilu said. The attack in Kabul early Sunday morning rocked the center of the capital. We heard it on our streets nearby. Since then, speculation has swirled around who or what hit this empty house in the Chapar neighborhood known for its gaudy multi-storied villas. Hours after President Biden announced news of Zawahiri's death, workers in buildings nearby told us no one lived in the villa, whose balconies are now covered with plastic sheetings. Adjacent shops were told by the Taliban to close their rooftops. Taliban guards pushed journalists, sometimes forcefully, away from the scene. The streets are quiet. The news is explosive. It again highlights the weaknesses of the 2020 U.S. Taliban deal.
The Taliban say they agreed Afghanistan would never again be a base to launch attacks against the United States, but they never agreed to sever all links to groups like Al-Qaeda, including their longtime brother-in-arms, Ayman al-Zawahiri. A Taliban spokesman described the U.S. operation as a clear violation of international principles, but did not mention Zawahiri. U.S. officials maintained that the operation had a legal basis. Under a peace deal struck in 2020, the Taliban agreed not to allow Al-Qaeda or any other extremist group to operate in areas under their control. However, the Taliban and Al-Qaeda are longtime allies, and U.S. officials said the Taliban were aware of Zawahiri's presence in Kabul, and he lived freely and in the open in the Afghan capital. Zawahiri's killing comes nearly a year after Mr. Biden withdrew U.S. troops from Afghanistan, bringing an end to a 20-year military presence there and allowing the Taliban to retake control of the country by force. In background briefings, U.S. intelligence officers accused Taliban affiliates of going to the safe house after the strike to try to cover up evidence of Zawahiri's presence there. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken said that by hosting and sheltering Zawahiri in Kabul, the Taliban had grossly violated the peace agreement. The drone strike is the first known U.S. intervention inside Afghanistan since the military pullout last August, and despite the withdrawal, the decades-old war on terror grinds on, the BBC's North American correspondent John Sudworth observes. Days before the withdrawal, a miscalculated U.S. drone strike killed 10 innocent people in Kabul, including an aid worker and 7 children. The U.S. said it had been a tragic mistake and had been aiming to target a local branch of the so-called Islamic State jihadist group. Biden says victory has been served, but there's a video to watch.
My fellow Americans, on Saturday, at my direction, the United States successfully concluded an airstrike in Kabul, Afghanistan that killed the emir of al-Qaeda, Ayman al-Zawahiri. You know, Zawahiri was bin Laden's leader. He was with him the whole time. He was his number 2 man, his deputy at the time the terrorists attacked 9/11. He was deeply involved in the planning of 9/11. One of the most responsible for the attacks that murdered 2,977 people on American soil. For decades, he was the mastermind behind attacks against Americans, including the bombing of the USS Cole in 2000, which killed 17 American sailors and wounded dozens more. He played a key role in the bombing of U.S. embassies in Kenya and Tanzania, killing 224 and wounding over 4,500 others. He carved a trail of murder and violence against American citizens, American service members, American diplomats, and American interests. And since the United States delivered justice to bin Laden 11 years ago, Zawahiri has been a leader of al-Qaeda, the leader. From hiding, he coordinated al-Qaeda's branches and all around the world, including setting priorities for providing operational guidance that call for and inspired attacks against U.S. targets. He made videos, including in recent weeks, calling for his followers to attack the United States and our allies. Now, justice has been delivered, and this terrorist leader is no more. People around the world no longer need to fear the vicious and determined killer. The United States continues to demonstrate our resolve and our capacity to defend the American people against those who seek to do us harm. You know, we make it clear again tonight that no matter how long it takes, no matter where you hide, if you are a threat to our people, the United States will find you and take you out.